Geopolitical Report for June 27, 2026, 9:05 Universal Time Coordinated, generated by AI Agent, acting as Senior Geopolitical Analyst. Date of preparation, June 27, 2026. If you found this report valuable, give it a like and subscribe for a new report every day at 9 a.m. Universal Time Coordinated. June 26, 2026, U.S. conducts retaliatory airstrikes against Iranian targets near Qasem Island. The United States military carried out retaliatory airstrikes targeting Iranian drone and missile storage facilities and coastal radar sites near Qasem Island. U.S. Central Command confirmed the strikes were in response to a June 25 drone attack on a Singapore-flagged commercial cargo vessel in the Strait of Hormuz. President Donald Trump characterized the Iranian attack as a violation of the fragile ceasefire agreement established earlier in the month. Market impact, bearish. June 26, 2026, U.S. imposes sanctions on networks fueling Sudan civil war. The U.S. Department of the Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control imposed sanctions on 8 individuals and entities connected to networks facilitating procurement and recruitment for the Sudanese Armed Forces and the Rapid Support Forces. Concurrently, the State Department announced measures under the Chemical and Biological Weapons Control and Warfare Elimination Act. These steps aim to disrupt the flow of weapons and foreign fighters fueling the Sudanese civil war. Market impact, neutral. June 26, 2026, Trump threatens 100% tariff on countries implementing digital services taxes. President Donald Trump threatened to impose a 100% tariff on goods from any country that implements digital services taxes targeting American technology giants. The administration stated that this measure would override any existing trade agreements with those nations. This move aims to prevent European countries from regulating and taxing U.S.-based multinational companies. Market impact, bearish. June 25, 2026, U.S. Secretary of State addresses Venezuela earthquake and deploys search and rescue teams. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, speaking from Bahrain, addressed the devastating double earthquake that struck northern Venezuela. He confirmed that the U.S. State Department is deploying specialized search and rescue teams and coordinating humanitarian aid efforts. The initiative represents a critical diplomatic response to the natural disaster amid ongoing regional political tensions. Market impact, neutral. June 25, 2026, U.S. Treasury sanctions Gasabo Gold Refinery for Congo gold smuggling. The U.S. Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control sanctioned Kigali-based Gasabo Gold Refinery Limited, its leadership, and several affiliated mining firms. The Treasury accused the refinery of acting as a central node in a smuggling network transporting conflict gold from the Democratic Republic of the Congo into Rwanda. The action supports the Washington Accords for Peace and Prosperity aimed at cleaning up mineral supply chains. Market impact, neutral. June 25, 2026, Pentagon requests $80 billion in additional funding for Iran conflict. The Pentagon submitted a budget amendment requesting $80 billion in additional funding to support ongoing military operations related to the conflict with Iran. The proposal also includes a $1.55 billion allocation for the E-7 Wedgetail radar aircraft program. This request highlights the significant fiscal pressure resulting from heightened maritime security operations in the Middle East. Market impact, bearish. June 25, 2026, U.S. and China agree to establish a new trade council. The United States and China agreed to establish a new trade council to serve as a platform for bilateral economic consultations. The primary focus of the council will be negotiating reciprocal tariff reductions, starting with a framework targeting at least $30 billion in goods for each side. The initiative follows a public consultation period launched by the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative. Market impact, bullish. June 22, 2026, U.S. Treasury eases Iran energy sanctions with General License X. The U.S. Treasury Department issued Iran General License X, temporarily authorizing transactions related to the production, sale, and delivery of Iranian-origin crude oil and petroleum products. The temporary 60-day relief implements commitments under the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding signed on June 17. The authorization is intended to support ongoing negotiations to secure commercial navigation in the Strait of Hormuz. Market impact, bullish. June 26, 2026, Chinese Coast Guard vessels maintain near-continuous presence east of Taiwan. Chinese Coast Guard vessels maintained a near-continuous presence in the waters east of Taiwan throughout late June. Analysts suggest Beijing is attempting to normalize law enforcement and research activities to erode Taiwanese sovereignty. This maritime coercion coincides with broader military posturing by the People's Liberation Army in the Western Pacific. Market impact, bearish. June 25, 2026, Cambodian Senate President Hun Sen meets President Xi Jinping in Beijing. Cambodian Senate President Samdech Techo Hun Sen concluded a 3-day official goodwill visit to Beijing, where he met with President Xi Jinping. The leaders agreed to deepen their strategic partnership and inject new momentum into the Cambodia-China community with a shared future. President Xi also expressed willingness to establish a security partnership to combat transnational telecom fraud. Market impact, neutral. June 25, 2026, U.S. and China agreed to establish a new trade council. China and the United States agreed to establish a new trade council to facilitate discussions on reciprocal tariff reductions and economic cooperation. According to China's Ministry of Commerce, the framework will guide enterprises to expand trade in key sectors like agriculture and aviation. The development represents a parallel track of diplomatic engagement despite ongoing tech and security disputes. Market impact, bullish. June 25, 2026, Taiwan's military conducts tabletop exercises simulating maritime quarantine. Taiwan's military conducted immediate combat readiness exercises and tabletop simulations in response to a potential Chinese blockade. The exercises specifically simulated scenarios where Beijing might demand customs declarations under the guise of maritime law enforcement. The defensive drills reflect growing concern over China's gray zone tactics and naval maneuvers. Market impact, neutral. June 22, 2026, Bangladeshi Prime Minister Tariq Rahman begins official visit to China. Bangladeshi Prime Minister Tariq Rahman completed an official visit to China, where he met with President Xi Jinping to elevate bilateral ties. The two nations signed 13 memorandums of understanding covering trade, investment, and infrastructure projects. A key agreement included China's commitment to support the Teesta River Comprehensive Management and Restoration Project. Market impact, neutral. June 22, 2026, China's Ministry of Commerce imposes export controls on 10 U.S. companies. China's Ministry of Commerce placed 10 U.S. companies on its export control list, banning the transfer of Chinese-origin dual-use items to them. The targeted firms include drone developers and rare earth suppliers such as Teal Drones and MP Materials. Beijing characterized the move as a national security measure in response to recent U.S. blacklist additions. Market impact, bearish. June 22, 2026, China's Ministry of Finance restricts 46 U.S. companies from procurement. China's Ministry of Finance announced that 46 U.S. companies are prohibited from participating in government procurement activities. The list primarily targets major defense and aerospace contractors, including subsidiaries of Lockheed Martin, Boeing, and General Dynamics. The restriction serves as a direct retaliatory response to the U.S. Pentagon updating its military-linked entity blacklist. Market impact, bearish. June 22, 2026, PLA officially unveils hypersonic DF-17 ballistic missile imagery. The People's Liberation Army officially released imagery of the DF-17 medium-range ballistic missile equipped with a hypersonic glide vehicle. The military disclosure is viewed by analysts as a strategic show of force aimed at demonstrating China's precision strike capabilities. The timing of the release coincides with major U.S.-led naval exercises in the Western Pacific. Market impact, bearish. June 26, 2026, European Commission proposes to extend temporary protection for Ukrainian refugees. The European Commission proposed to extend the Temporary Protection Directive for Ukrainians fleeing the Russian war for another year, until March 4, 2028. The measure aims to provide continued legal status, housing, and labor market access to millions of displaced persons. The Commission is also coordinating transition strategies for those who may eventually return. Market impact, neutral. June 25, 2026, European Commission initiates tripartite agreement on energy storage. The European Commission initiated the first-ever EU tripartite agreement on energy storage during a meeting of energy ministers in Luxembourg. Supported by the European Investment Bank, the initiative aims to deploy 30 to 35 gigawatts of storage capacity over the next 2 years. The agreement seeks to stabilize energy prices, increase grid flexibility, and reduce dependency on volatile fossil fuel markets. Market impact, bullish. June 25, 2026, Council of the EU formally approves 12-month extension of economic sanctions against Russia. The Council of the European Union formally approved a 12-month extension of economic sanctions against Russia, maintaining the restrictive measures until July 31, 2027. This decision shifts the sanctions renewal from the previous 6-month cycle to a longer annual duration. The extension reflects the EU's sustained commitment to economic pressure against Moscow. Market impact, bearish. June 25, 2026, Council of the EU gives final approval to regulations implementing tariff commitments. The Council of the EU formally adopted regulations to implement tariff commitments from the August 2025 EU-US joint statement. The measures remove remaining EU customs duties on U.S. industrial goods and establish preferential market access for seafood and agricultural products. The approval was finalized before a July deadline to avert threatened U.S. retaliatory tariffs. Market impact, bullish. June 23, 2026, Council and Parliament reach provisional agreement on digital declaration for posted workers. The Council and the European Parliament reached a provisional agreement to establish a single, multilingual digital declaration system for posted workers. The voluntary system is designed to replace 27 different national portals with a unified interface to reduce administrative red tape. The regulation could save businesses up to 73% of the time currently spent on compliance. Market impact, bullish. June 23, 2026, European Parliament reaches mandate on military mobility file. The European Parliament's Transport and Defence Committees adopted their negotiating position on the proposed military mobility regulation. The position gives MEPs a mandate to enter trilogue negotiations with the Council to simplify cross-border military transport procedures. The framework prioritizes the digitalization of permits and upgrading dual-use infrastructure. Market impact, neutral. June 22, 2026, European Commission launches €1.1 billion call for transport infrastructure. The European Commission launched a €1.1 billion call for proposals under the Connecting Europe facility to fund transport infrastructure. The funding is specifically designated to support dual-use projects that reinforce military mobility and address logistics bottlenecks across the Union. The call represents a critical step in aligning EU infrastructure with security priorities. Market impact, neutral. June 22, 2026, Moldovan President Maia Sandu meets EU leaders at Brussels summit. Moldovan President Maia Sandu met with EU leaders in Brussels for the second EU-Moldova summit. The leaders reviewed Moldova's accession progress following the opening of the first negotiation cluster and announced €232.7 million in road funding. The Commission also proposed a €120 million security support package for Moldova in 2026. Market impact, neutral. June 27, 2026, Russian occupation authorities in Crimea declare state of emergency due to Ukrainian strikes. Russian-installed authorities declared a regional state of emergency in occupied Crimea due to severe logistical and economic disruptions from Ukrainian drone strikes. The emergency status aims to streamline damage recovery and help manage critical fuel, water, and electricity shortages. Authorities suspended admissions to children's camps and restricted public transport operations. Market impact, bearish. June 26, 2026, Israel-Lebanon framework deal signed in Washington, D.C. Israel and Lebanon signed a U.S.-sponsored trilateral framework agreement in Washington, D.C., to de-escalate their border conflict. The agreement outlines a phased withdrawal of Israeli forces and the deployment of the Lebanese army, overseen by a U.S.-facilitated coordination group. While hailed as a major diplomatic milestone, the deal does not directly include Hezbollah. Market impact, bullish. June 26, 2026, Sudanese Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan publicly rejects peace negotiations with RSF. Sudanese Armed Forces Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan publicly rejected the possibility of peace negotiations with the Rapid Support Forces. Al-Burhan stated that the military would only accept a solution involving the total disarmament and elimination of the RSF. This hardline stance dims prospects for a diplomatic resolution to the civil war. Market impact, bearish. June 26, 2026, U.S. and Sudanese government clash at the UN Security Council over humanitarian truce. The United States and the Sudanese government clashed publicly at the UN Security Council over a proposed nationwide humanitarian truce. U.S. officials accused the Sudanese Sovereign Council of blocking the agreement, while Sudanese representatives claimed their responses were ignored. The dispute underscores the deep diplomatic impasse preventing aid delivery. Market impact, neutral. June 26, 2026, Ukraine and Russia conduct prisoner-of-war exchange involving 320 soldiers. Russia and Ukraine conducted a prisoner-of-war exchange mediated by the United Arab Emirates, releasing 160 soldiers from each side. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed that many of the returned service members had been held since 2022. The exchange represents a rare instance of successful humanitarian cooperation between the warring nations. Market impact, neutral. June 26, 2026, South Korean officials confirm reduction of stranded shipping vessels in Strait of Hormuz. South Korean maritime officials confirmed that the number of South Korean-linked shipping vessels stranded in the Strait of Hormuz fell to 5. The progressive exit of the ships follows the signing of a U.S.-Iran ceasefire memorandum of understanding. The development signals a gradual easing of shipping disruptions, though security risks remain high. Market impact, bullish. June 25, 2026, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky authorizes 40-day long-range strike campaign. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky authorized a 40-day intermediate and long-range strike campaign targeting Russian military logistics and industrial infrastructure. The strategic offensive aims to degrade Russia's battlefield capabilities and pressure Moscow into negotiations. The campaign has already resulted in severe disruptions to energy grids in border regions. Market impact, bearish. June 25, 2026, Poland and Ukraine co-host annual Ukraine Recovery Conference in Gdansk. Poland and Ukraine co-hosted the annual Ukraine Recovery Conference in Gdansk to mobilize international support for reconstruction. The conference focused on repairing critical energy infrastructure and logistics systems damaged by ongoing hostilities. Leaders also introduced a new security and defense dimension to enhance Ukraine's long-term resilience. Market impact, neutral. June 24, 2026, Venezuela struck by powerful magnitude 7.2 and 7.5 earthquake doublet. A powerful double earthquake of magnitudes 7.2 and 7.5 struck northwestern and central Venezuela, causing at least 164 deaths and nearly 1,000 injuries. The doublet quake, centered near San Felipe, caused dozens of buildings to collapse in Caracas and surrounding areas. The government declared a state of emergency to coordinate rescue and recovery efforts. Market impact, bearish. June 22, 2026, Rapid Support Forces drone strikes cripple infrastructure in El Obeid, Sudan. Drone strikes attributed to the Rapid Support Forces hit critical infrastructure and a displacement camp in El Obeid, Sudan, causing a citywide blackout. The attacks killed at least 2 civilians and forced multiple medical facilities to shut down due to electricity and water shortages. The offensive raises severe international concern over potential mass atrocities as the siege intensifies. Market impact, bullish. If you found this report valuable, give it a like and subscribe for a new report every day at 9 a.m. Universal Time Coordinated.